The president doesn't actually run the country. The shadow government does. Presidents are merely frontmen for the shadow government, who are the true rulers of the nation. Presidents come and go, but there are those that maintain their position of power, influence, and prestige, regardless of who is actually in the White House. It is these ruling elites that makes up what is called the shadow government. The shadow government consists of a bureaucracy of ruling white elites that are involved in the secret manipulation and control of the society. These are the true rulers of our society. Although the face of the public government is one that professes equality for all citizens, the shadow government is secretly, unrelentingly committed towards the preservation of its nation's white dominance. This commitment necessitates that systems be put in place to impede the advancement and upward mobility of the Black population. Under the guise of merely preventing dissent from rising among the Black populace against the white status quo, the shadow government actually engages in many nefarious schemes against Black people as a means of maintaining their dominance over Black people. Presently, white government agents that specialize in psychiatry and propaganda, they work unrelentingly behind the scenes, manipulating the collective minds of the Black masses. These men analyzes and studies everything about the Black population, our beliefs, our likes, our dislikes, our strengths, and our vulnerabilities. This surveillance information is gathered and decisions are then made on which fraudulent stories to produce to best create certain psychological feelings amongst the Black population that assists in maintaining white dominance. These men govern our minds, molds our opinions, and shapes our perception in ways that protects and serves the system of white supremacy. It's the hidden truth that white oppressive forces don't want Black people to ever learn. The general population doesn't know what's happening, and it doesn't even know it doesn't know. That was stated by Noam Chomsky. Now, logically, most listeners will ask the question of, given that there are so many other racial groups within the white dominant society, then why then are the shadow government subjugation tactics deployed the harshest against the Black population? It's because there are many great narratives about Black people that are hidden from the public that makes Black people deemed as the greatest threat against the system of white supremacy. Within all manners of warfare, the group presenting the greatest threat is always attacked the harshest. This fact is even noted in the book The Art of War by Sun Tzu. I know that my statement that Black people represents the greatest threat against the system of white supremacy for many is perhaps laughable. Many people naturally find it as being a hard pill to swallow, given that Black people are constantly depicted as being the leeches and the criminals of the white society. It's a commonly held perception. However, perception is rarely, if ever, consistent with reality and facts. The truth is that the perception of Black people is literally owned by white oppressive forces that maintain their social dominance over Black people by ensuring that Black people remains negatively perceived. The oppressor's depiction of the oppressed is never a true one. It's always a false one that has been negatively distorted to serve the oppressor's nefarious agendas against the oppressed. To hold a people in oppression, you have to convince them first that they are supposed to be oppressed. John Henrik Clarke said that. The ruling white elites that makes up the shadow government publicly denigrates the image of Black people, while they secretly envy us because they know of our great narratives that they hide from the public. It's because of those hidden great narratives why they deem Black people as being the greatest threat against the preservation of their white dominance. Here are a few hidden narratives about Black people that cause the shadow government to deem us as representing the greatest threat against the system of white supremacy. These might surprise some of you because they're not what we've been taught. They're hidden from us. After slavery was abolished in the U.S. in 1865, the advancement made by African Americans following slavery was extraordinary. In spite of receiving no reparation and being constantly plagued by the evils of white racism, African Americans built many of our own self-sufficient cities across the country. Those black built cities often exceeded their neighboring white cities. This resulted in many white mobs rioting and destroying those black cities. Black segregated schools made a significant difference in black illiteracy, which was 30% in 1919. It had dropped to less than 7% by 1955. Black illiteracy had almost dissipated in the North, and in some areas, black illiteracy was less than white illiteracy. Such was the case of New York. In 1950s, black colleges had 71,000 students. Nearly all were in the South. 553 black people had doctorate degree. Furthermore, between the year of 1940, African Americans had submitted 726 invention patents to the U.S. Patent Office. Those numbers more than doubled those submitted by whites during the same time frame. This scenario of black people outpacing whites in making inventions has never changed. It's merely concealed from the public through the white society's monopoly over information. The hidden fact is that in spite of cultural traumas wrought by the injustices of white racism and slavery, most inventions that have revolutionized the world were either invented by black people or were directly inspired by earlier inventions by black people. The technological advancements made by black people is unrivaled by any other racial group. Now, when a well-packaged web of lies has been sold gradually to the masses over generations, the truth will seem utterly preposterous, and the speaker of truth will sound like a raving lunatic. However, the truth is that without black people, there would exist no internet, no cell phones. We wouldn't even have the cameras and microphones that's on a cell phone. There wouldn't be emails. There wouldn't be GPS, hearing aids. There'd be no touch-tone phones, no caller ID, no home surveillance security thing, no home game cartridges, no motors, no steam engines, no motorized vehicles. No traffic lights, no working light bulbs, no elevators, therefore no skyscrapers, no air conditioning, no modern PC, no 3D movies, no central heating, no refrigerators, no helicopters, no washing machine, no dryers, no refrigerated trucks, no blood bank, no fiber optics, no nanotechnology, no accurate weather forecasting system, no Philips sanitary pads, no lawnmower, no pencil sharpeners, etc., etc. The technological advancement made by black people following slavery was extraordinary. The white shadow government deemed black ingenuity as representing it as being an immense threat to the preservation of white dominance. Okay? Then black unified protest against the system of white supremacy is also unrivaled by any other racial group in history. During the 1960s, African Americans' unified protest against the U.S. system of white supremacy was unprecedented. African Americans confronted it on all fronts. It was confronted through civil disobedient tactics, militant means, nonviolent protests, and with black lawyers pleading for equality within America's highest Supreme Court. African Americans' unified protest still remains unrivaled by any other group in U.S. history. African Americans had again unknowingly proven themselves as being the greatest threat against the system of white supremacy. Again. Witnessing the immense threat that black people represents against the preservation of white supremacy, white social science determined that by negatively distorting everything that black people believes about ourselves collectively, they could condition millions of us to perceive ourselves through a false, marginalized, and inferior identity that aids them in maintaining their social dominance over black people. And also by negatively distorting what everyone else believed about black people, they could sustain false assumptions within the society that aids them in maintaining their white social dominance over black people. So they deployed an elaborate perception management system that negatively distorts the image of black people. The white society's negative depiction of black people is the result of an elaborate perception management system that bears almost no relations to reality whatsoever. Perception management is a propaganda technique that involves altering the public's perception of reality to suit the objective of the ruling class. It is an essential part of modern warfare, modern information warfare. In order for the white society to maintain their social dominance over black people, it's crucial to keep black people believing the fraudulent worst about ourselves. So deception is essential. To meet this objective, the white shadow government therefore deploys many fraudulent negative narratives about black people that meets this hidden objective. It's deployed like a massive media marketing campaign that keeps the black masses believing the fraudulent worst narratives about ourselves. Our perceptions of ourselves collectively have been deliberately negatively distorted by white propagandists to condition us to perceive ourselves through a false marginalized identity that aids the white society in maintaining their social dominance over black people. If the white shadow government did not deploy a perception management system that aids it in maintaining its dominance over black people, it would then be diametrically opposing its own self-interest of maintaining its dominance over black people. This is our hidden reality. Now, I never said that what I teach would be easy to comprehend. I only said it would be the black liberating truth. We must elevate our minds above biblical fairy tale slave syndrome myths and learn there are social sciences that they deploy for maintaining their dominance over black people. Social sciences, we must learn how it works. Once we learn how it works, we can then develop counter strategies to overcome it. But we will never overcome the white society believing in myths and fairy tales. We have to understand the social sciences in order to develop the proper counter strategies to liberate ourselves. One love and peace.